Imagine actually trying to get popcorn out of here. So it's hard to get in. It's even harder to get back out.
That's the point.
It's like if you're holding popcorn, it's all getting torn out of your hand. It's like, no, it's mine. But anyway, I've never bought one of these before, like any collectible thing ever. And I was like, but I have to. For the memes, I have to. This thing's amazing. It's going on my set. I'm happy I have this. I'm going to stare at that the whole room.
Getting a whole new meaning to wormhole.
Well, that was a movie.
Hello, welcome back to SimonsRants. I'm Simon, this is Justin. We're giving our first thoughts on Dune 2, which is, of course, directed once again by Denis Villeneuve. It's starring Timothée Chalamet. I'm not gonna... His name's like Timothée something.
Timmy.
I don't know. Timmy Chams. Just so you're warned, our resident Dune expert is locked in the trunk this time. We don't have him. Also, Eric didn't come either. Did not rewatch the first one. You did.
I did.
To me, I was like, I feel like, because what my biggest complaint about the first one, which I did enjoy, and I enjoy more now having seen the second one, but I watched the first one and went, nothing happened. So I was like, so do I need to rewatch it if nothing happened? Because like all I learned from that was who people were, what spice was, and why we were fighting, which is the spice. So I was like, do I really need to rewatch it?
I just needed a refresher on the characters. I hadn't seen them in like a year.
In a year? Wait, have you? I haven't watched it since theaters.
Same, so I guess it's been more than a year.
Yeah, it's been a while. The first one, I kind of walked out without much of an opinion. You gonna pick that up? No? Okay. It was kind of like watching Star Wars A New Hope and the movie ends right when they get to the cantina. It's like, so nothing's happened yet. So it's like, okay, it was a pretty nothing. Score was great. Hans Zimmer for the win. Love that guy. But I don't have much of an opinion yet because nothing happened yet. So now we can have opinions. And I do.
I agree with you. The first one was kind of weird because multi-part movies are fine.
Sure.
But a lot of multi-part movies tend to have a contained story in each of their parts. And it really didn't feel like Dune Part 1 did. It just felt like we got halfway through the story and then see you when we see you.
It did do a good job of world building, but that was it. Like you know, it introduced you to what's spice, why is the galaxy at war, who are these people? Okay, but now, you know, the climax of that one is a knife fight between two guys. And it's like, that's it.
And this guy we just met.
Yeah. And so it's like, it really just, it was more about setting the stage than telling the story. Like, it was getting us right to the cusp of the story, but it really didn't get into it. So this one finally got into it. So what did you think?
You know, I was definitely excited to see stuff happen. And there's definitely a lot that happened. Quite a lot that happened.
Oh, yeah. I mean, practically 3 hours.
Yeah. I don't really feel like anything was given any amount of time to breathe at all. Event to, oh, we're going to do that. Oh, we're already there doing that. To some very anticlimactic stuff when it comes to villain-wise. Yeah.
So I think, once again, I am going to say the caveat of we don't know a lot about Dune. I know more about it than nothing. And I think knowing what comes next and knowing where the story is going makes it less anticlimactic than it feels if you don't know anything. But I still agree that, you know, these villains, they were set up to be so cool in the first one. Yeah. And then they're so not. I don't want to get into spoilers yet, but it's just like, I agree, where it can feel like things didn't matter. And a lot of things were happening. Like, this is a light spoiler, but it's not that important. So, like, he's dealing with the tribe, the sand people on this planet, and they want him to pass various tests to prove that he is this savior guy. And so it's like, all right, you need to go through the desert and go over that arch of sand over there or whatever and come back. Here's a tent. Look out for witches and centipedes. Okay? Go. And then he's going and he's doing his little sand dance, which is still hilarious. And Zendaya comes up to him and is like, you moron, you're not even in worm territory yet, and you're doing the dance wrong. Let me help you, because you're gonna die otherwise. And you're like, okay, cool, where's this going? Cuts away to this other character for a scene. Cuts back, she's showing him how this machine works. And it's like, this is where we get water from. And you're like, okay, I didn't realize they brought this with them, but sure. And then, you know, there's a little moment of flirting there, and you're like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. And then next scene, is they're fighting people. And you're like, huh? Wait, at what point did he finish crossing the desert and coming back?
No idea.
At what point did that happen?
Felt the same way.
And it was so frustrating because when this movie started, I had a feeling watching it where I was like, I didn't get to see Lord of the Rings in theaters. But I was like, this is the closest I'm ever going to get. The massive size of how the movie felt and how we were mixing artsy filmmaking with a blockbuster-style Hollywood movie, I was like, holy shit, this is about to be amazing. And it was still, I want to say, good. Great at times. But it was those moments that were frustrating where I'm like, what was the point of that then? And why did that go nowhere? And even knowing where the story's going in the end, it's frustrating when it's like, it makes these other things then feel trivial and unimportant. And especially if you're coming from a situation where you don't know anything, you're just going to be like, well, that was all pointless then. And this means nothing to me.
I've seen a ton of movies where they're adapted from some original source material that I've never seen the original source material. The movie is the first time experiencing the world. And so I don't get to see all the little details that they got lost in the adaptation. I'm usually a lot more pleased not knowing the source material than before seeing the adaptation.
Yeah.
This is one of the first ones in a long while, maybe the first one ever that I can recall, where I've walked out of here feeling like they left out like half the book or something.
If you think about it, they split the first part of the story into 2 movies. So what we just saw is the groundwork. And so once again, if it's a first movie, I'm okay with that. But it's a second movie of a series of movies, possibly only a trilogy. They've talked about maybe only doing 3 movies. And it's like, once again, I'm okay with you spending the first movie laying groundwork, but you split the first story into 2 movies, so now the first 2 movies are laying groundwork for, once again, another movie that will hopefully be really good. And that's frustrating, where I definitely liked this a lot more than the first one. I really did.
Definitely.
And I thought that the character development and the story development were both much more interesting because it came down to a lot more than just world politics. There was other things going on. There was also personal politics, and once again, great world building. Like, I love seeing all of the little things. Like, for instance, when people die on the sand planet, they harvest their water because water is so scarce. Stuff like that. Like, the little details are so cool.
There's a ton of little stuff like that that's really interesting. Yes. And I was really curious to learn more about this world, about the various different sectors. They start breaking down the North versus the South, the differences between the different tribes of people, stuff. And it felt like that was gonna matter more.
The fighting can be boring. In both movies, it was boring to me and silly at times.
This one, so okay, the first one was more silly because of the shielding to me.
And the shielding, they kind of skimmed over that in this.
Yeah, and I think that was both a smart decision and a weird one at the same time, because the shielding was such a huge part of the first movie that clearly the regular troops here are going to have the shields still.
Yeah.
But they didn't feel like they had the shields at all because they don't want to show them much. And I kind of agree with...
It came into play twice in the whole movie, I think. The shields were important twice.
Yeah. The end and the one scene with the... Is that Austin Butler?
Yeah. Elvis. Yeah. You didn't hear it? Elvis was in there. Elvis was in there. I heard Elvis a couple times.
I heard you say Elvis.
No, there was a couple lines where it's like, he's trying desperately, and I don't know if you've heard, but like he went to a speech therapist to get rid of, like a talking coach to get rid of Elvis out of his dialect, but it's still there because he's trying really hard. Like, he's doing like a weird voice. Like, I was like watching it going, Bill Skarsgård should have played this character, and I bet he was busy because Austin Butler was just doing his best Bill Skarsgård impression with a little sprinkle of Elvis. His first line, I forget what it was exactly, but it was like, whoa there, darling, or something. I'm like, not a great first line for a guy trying to not sound like Elvis. I'm like, hold on, let's have a different line for that. But speaking of acting and how it was both distracting and sometimes unfortunately detrimental to the story as well. It's like one of the things that I was saying when it's comparable to me with like Lord of the Rings is how epic it felt and how serious it was taking it, because it is a very Star Wars style concept, but taken seriously to the extent of like something like Lord of the Rings, where it's like an epic rather than just silly people cracking jokes half the time. Like there was a couple of jokes in here, but it was much more serious.
Yeah.
And so you want to take it seriously despite how ridiculous some things are. But then when the acting isn't good enough at times, it tears you right out of it. So there's certain actors that are amazing. Like Javier Bardem really sells it. He was my favorite character in the movie. I really cared about him. Stellan Skarsgård. I mean, all the Skarsgårds are always amazing, but Stellan Skarsgård, great. Love him. But then you get Austin Butler in there, and it's frustrating. I mean, Timothée Chalamet is weak in this, extremely weak. And he and Zendaya are the focal point of this story, and I don't take either of them seriously at all. And then you throw in Christopher Walken in there, and you die laughing every time he says anything.
Christopher Walken was hilarious.
And it's frustrating.
I tried, but
yeah. Like
they give him like 3 words to say at a time too, so he doesn't get into his
But he does anyway. It's just a casting choice that confuses me, because like I said, this movie rides so heavily on being taken seriously.
Yeah.
And then you've got him in there, and you're like, well, now I don't take it seriously anymore. That could have been, I don't know, somebody else. Ian McKellen or like Patrick Stewart or something. I don't know. Like,
we'll age someone up. It's fine.
just somebody, you know. And I can't take him seriously. And then he's acting alongside Florence Pugh because she plays his daughter. I'm like, there we go, a great actress, but she's next to Christopher Walken, so you're just like getting whiplash, looking back and forth between the two, and you're like, oh my god. Visually, this movie's a 10 out of 10. Look beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Amazing what happens.
Both of them looked gorgeous.
This one looked even better than the first one.
I agree, and they probably because I got to spend more time outside and such.
Yeah, and like world build, like the Stellan Skarsgård, his world was so fucking cool looking. Like the way that like they had the black sun or however they described it.
Yeah.
And they had this like gladiator pitch. It looked so cool. I love that. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for that. Also visual effects. It's amazing what happens when you give CGI artists time and money. They make shit look good. Like, there was one shot this entire movie that I went, didn't buy that CGI. And it wasn't even like it was bad. I was just so nitpicky because it had been so good the whole time that I was getting ready to say that at no point could I tell where the practical effects stopped and the CGI started. And that is true for 99% of the movie. There was just there's like one flyover scene where they're like during one of the battle sequences and there's like a shot where they go over top of it. I'm like, that whole thing was CGI. But other than that, couldn't tell where it started and when it stopped. It was phenomenal. I think Denis Villeneuve is a very good director, but his directing to the bad actors seemed to be just shout.
But that's the thing, like, that feels like half of the Dave Bautista roles. It just feels like that's what people want from him.
It wasn't just Bautista though. It was like Timothée Chalamet, where it was like his character was either whispering or then he'd go, "Well, I said it," and then he'd be back to completely calm. And you're like, "Huh? Is this guy okay? Is he having a mental breakdown?" And that's where I'm like, his character is such a complex character, and it's about to get a lot harder in the next movie, and I don't know if he's got the range for it. I don't. Like, the movie series is going to really ride or die on his ability to carry this, because he is the most important thing about it, unfortunately. I don't think he's a bad actor. I've seen him be fine in, like, dramas and period pieces. I think that's what his niche is, though. I don't think you can have him play characters like Willy Wonka or this. The movie, like I said, looks amazing. It feels amazing. Sounds amazing. Directing, cinematography, all is phenomenal. And then some bad writing and some bad acting just really derails parts of it.
It's weird to leave a 3-hour movie and feel like, was this supposed to be another movie in here? Is it supposed to be like, not a trilogy, but 4 films now?
What do you think if this was the first movie and we didn't get the first one at all? Would you have been okay with it? Because I think I would have been. And I know we're missing a lot of world building in there.
Yeah.
But a lot of, like Star Wars, there's no world building at all. They don't explain anything. You just jump in. Lord of the Rings, very little world building. You've got a monologue at the beginning, and then the rest you just run with. If they had done something like that,
I think it could have worked.
This could have been a really, really, really good first movie. But that's honestly my biggest problem with this movie is that it's the second in a series where I'm going, we still haven't gained anything, which I don't think is really a fault of it. It's a fault of the first one that is just coming along as baggage. Really, it could have been, at the beginning of Lord of the Rings, when once there was this, and then they made these rings, and we could have just done that at the beginning of this.
Give it a little scroll, yeah.
Yeah.
Sets it up pretty well.
Yeah, have Florence Pugh do it. She's got a great voice.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'd love to be Timothée Chalamet. I'd love to have the hardship of trying to choose between Zendaya and Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
That's the worst day of my life, trying to decide. I think my only problem with this movie is pacing and acting. I'm fine with everything else, and I know you're not. And I think a lot of what you're not fine with will be solved if you see the big picture. The more you know the plot, the more you'll be entertained by it.
I'm sure that is the case.
Yeah.
As a person who doesn't know anything, I think it just does an all right job.
I know very little, so I don't know a whole lot more. I wish Connor was here, but he is not hiding behind my seat this time. If you're a fan of the first one, this one steps it up in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
and it's even better. I enjoyed it much more. It was such a pretty movie too.
No, it looks
amazing.
Phenomenal.
One of the best looking movies I've seen.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably the best looking movie I've seen in theaters since Interstellar. Like, it was beautiful. Very interesting story, but once again, with the caveat of, like, if you treat this like it's still the first part of a story, because it is. It's not the story's fault that the director chose to split it into two stories. We're probably going to disagree wildly on this. I want to give it like a 7.5. I really enjoyed it, actually. And I think there was parts of it that were frustrating, but I still think it was very good.
My scoring system is wildly all over the place. I'm never going to look back at my old scores because I know I'm inconsistent. It's crazy. I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay.
It's a well-done movie.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching it. I enjoy that stuff happened. I just really feel like we rushed through a whole lot of material.
Yeah. If you just treat it like it's the origin story, Spider-Man 1, that's what this is. We're just establishing people so we can do stuff more with it. Then I really do enjoy it, but it does have, the asterisk next to the rating, kind of like the first one for me did, where it's like, I enjoyed it, but let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
Because I love a good origin story, but you need to keep telling good stories for me to then enjoy that origin story anymore. Because if you set up something really good and then don't do anything with it, then who gives a shit?
Right.
So I am 100% giving this 7.5, teetering on the 8, with the asterisk, because I need to know that the next one is good. And frankly, I have faith that it will be, because the first two have been so good that I think they've got it pretty much handled.
Yeah.
But it's still very much in like, damn, we're just getting started, which can be frustrating. And it's one of those things where, like, I'm not a TV series guy. This probably should have been a series instead.
I say that so much about movies nowadays. Yeah. Just, if they could just, get all these actors and get this budget, but, with a TV show, just time length, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We could be doing some great things.
Yeah.
But
this could have been, a season of a show.
Yeah.
Good, but I hate to say it, gotta wait and see the next one.
Yeah, and that's weird. I'm still gonna stick with my 7. I'm looking forward to the next one. If it's the last one, that's gonna be a weird trilogy. But if it's gonna continue and maybe a couple more movies after including the next one, then I think this could be something pretty good.
Yeah.
Because there feels like there's a lot of stuff to go on now. And now it feels like they're going to have to go even faster than they're doing it now.
I think.
Or just completely go with their own way. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the Dune story's like. Maybe they got someplace they can just cut it off and be like, I think here's our Dune movie.
I think they could tell the story in 3 movies.
All right.
I think they could. But once again, it depends on where you want to cut it off. Like I said, we're getting into spoilers now. If you don't want anything spoiled, click away. Go watch it. It is worth a watch. But please remember to like, share, and subscribe before you leave. Thanks. Bye. So, spoilers. Okay.
Do you know how many books there were in the original Dune series? I'm assuming it's done.
Yeah, it's done, and other authors have added on to it, and there's debates on where does the series end or not.
where does the movie series end, or what?
No, where did the book series end?
Okay, well, I'm sure the movie series is never going to cover all of that, but I'm sure there's some original book series that that the movies are covering.
Like, a simple way of putting it is, did you read Narnia as a kid?
Yes.
You know how it's like, okay, so everybody knows Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
And then the fans go beyond that to like the Silver Chair and stuff.
Right.
But then the last Narnia book is the one that's just like, you have to be really into Narnia to like it all, because it's like, it's about revelation and stuff, and nobody likes it. That's kind of how Dune gets, except for it keeps going. So there's several books that a lot of people don't care about at all. And so there's a story that starts out being about Paul's character, then it expands beyond him, and then it also keeps going and gets really philosophical and weird. It gets pretty weird pretty quick. Besides that, but
okay, that sounds interesting and all. There's no way this movie series makes it past Paul's character, though.
I could see maybe one movie past Paul, but very unlikely. Yeah.
So, do you think the third one would be the last one, or do you think there could be a fourth one?
Depends on how they do it. They could do at least 2 more movies about Paul.
Okay.
They could. If they stay at the rate they're doing it, they could make 4 movies about Paul still. Basically, the story of Paul is about him becoming the bad guy.
Okay, that kind of
tracks, right?
Yeah, no, it made a lot of sense.
A lot more sense.
No, it seemed like it was going in somewhat of that direction with him just like immediately going into his own prophecy after spending half the movie fearing his prophecy and then just diving headfirst into it. But like, gosh, I felt like we should have spent a little more time with him, fearing it and, seeing some conflict about that rather than just jumping straight in.
But I do think it makes this movie a lot better because you're seeing the beginnings of it because he hasn't turned bad yet. He's just taken on the power that will turn him bad, and he's making decisions that he wouldn't have previously made. And so I find that fascinating to watch. If you don't know he's going to become the bad guy, it's kind of boring.
I mean, they made it pretty clear that he's either going to become the bad guy on purpose or on accident or in some sort of plot. Just because, like, the whole time he's like, if I go south and I take this power, man, it's just like, massacres everywhere and genocide and holy war in my name, and I don't want that. Oh, I guess I got to do that.
Yeah.
And then he goes there, and I get it. Now he's probably getting corrupted by the power, etc., etc. And that's all fine and dandy, but it felt like it happened really rapidly for me.
It did, and that's what I said, is even from my point of view, with knowing that already, the pacing was an issue. It was. Not a big enough issue that I'm mad about it. But I get it. There was like that. It's enough to prevent it from being, like I said, in that Lord of the Rings realm, where I'm like, this is an epic. They don't make movies like this anymore. That's what I was feeling like when I was watching. It's like, they say they don't make movies like this anymore. We're watching one right now, and then there was a couple of hiccups along the way that prevented it from really feeling like that. But that's how I would classify it, as hiccups, where it's like it's still a very good movie. It was just a few missteps away from being great.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing, but still very entertaining and makes me excited for a third one much more than the first one made me excited for this one. Because I was like, nothing fucking happened when I saw the first one. And I'm like, oh, some interesting little things happened. But it is, the fact that, like, we became so much more invested and interested in him being this menacing, all-powerful character, it really turned all the villains that were set up to be so cool in the first one into a bunch of nobodies. And so it was a little disappointing because I'm like, they were so cool in the first one.
Oh, yeah.
And then in this one, they were just like, oh, okay.
Literally every single one of them was much worse in this one. And then Austin Butler came in and was really, really cool.
Oh.
I mean, he was kind of cool at first. A lot of the stuff they were letting him do with, like, his, like, girls and stuff was weird. But, like...
I wasn't impressed by the fact that he beat some random slave in a fight. I wasn't impressed by that at all.
I wasn't completely impressed. I was a little more impressed by it when I thought originally that he was the reason the one guy wasn't drugged, not the Emperor dude. I thought he didn't want that guy drugged, and they were drugging those people so that he couldn't get hurt.
No.
And because it seemed like he was supposed to be set up to be this badass fighter that was going to go out and do some things, and I guess he did somewhat.
Yeah, I never found him cool at all.
I
If they had gotten Bill Skarsgård to play him, I maybe would have liked the role a little bit more. But I was just like...
I liked his intro in the Coliseum.
I liked that scene.
Yeah.
But he reminded me most of Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator. You know?
He kind of did, yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not... impressed by that. He's kind of a loser, I don't...
It did remind me of some old tales of, like, Roman leaders jumping into Colosseums and some fixed fights.
That was how I took it. I'm just like, eh.
The one thing that, could have made the scene a little bit better is if they didn't make the weakest looking guy the one not drugged.
Yeah. Because it didn't look like they had particularly good technique, either of them, when they were fighting. So then when he goes to fight Timothée Chalamet at the end, I'm like, okay. And then Timothée Chalamet almost dies fighting him. And I'm like, well, now I don't think he's very good because he barely beat him, who I didn't think was good to begin with. So, okay. And then they cut to... right after Austin Butler died, they cut to Christopher Walken just looking like, wow. I was just like, I really wanted him to say something like, oops. I guess I'm going to die. So Timothée Chalamet gets stabbed during that fight.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, is he going to die? And they cut to Zendaya, and you'd think her face would be like, oh my God. But her face was, huh? Like, you got stabbed, you loser? Like, mildly concerned, but the same face she'd been making the whole fight. Like, why are you doing this? This is a bad idea. I'm concerned for you. But not the, oh my God, you're about to die face that it should have been. It was like, did we forget to get that shot? And so we just reused a different shot? But, like, completely wrong face to be making when somebody that you supposedly are in love with got stabbed. She's just like, huh?
That fight at the end was a little... It wasn't good. Mm-mm. It was a little funny at times.
Especially when he gets distracted by Zendaya. Like, I'm like, just stab him in the back. So many times, I just wanted people to get stabbed in the back. Well, okay, just Austin Butler, because he was the one that kept turning around. I'm like, just... Because when he turns off his shield against the random guy in the
that was hilarious.
He turns around, like, look, I just turned on my shield. I'm like, so fucking kill him!
He's got to place the crowd, man.
I said it to you during the movie. It's just like, and stab.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you had time.
That would have been funny.
You know what was hilarious? The warfare in this movie. So first... Timothée Chalamet is like, you don't know these guys like I know them. I've been fighting them my whole life. Let me give you the ropes. Like, I'll show you the ropes on this. So what you want to do is you want to shoot them. And they're like, holy shit, you shoot them?
Yeah.
And then, so, okay, David Bautista's the bad guy. He's been completely inept this whole movie. Austin Butler comes in, first down the job. Here's the idea. We fucking shoot him. And they're like, what a genius move.
Yeah, okay, we do need to talk about that, because, like...
Literally, they say, what a genius idea. Fucking shooting them.
I don't remember if we ever actually saw them fighting back in the first movie, or if we just saw, like, natural disaster. Yeah.
They didn't fight in the first one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I couldn't remember how they fought in the first one. So, like, when he's saying, like, you don't know how to fight in this one, what'd they do wrong? How much did we see them do wrong? Just, like, ambushes in the sand? What did he provide them the lasers that they started using? Or did he just like, no, you see these lasers you guys have had this whole time?
Use them, motherfucker.
Point them at the enemy.
And then Austin Butler comes in and just fucking levels their home base because why not do that?
Which is hilarious because, okay, I guess I forgot.
Genius move,
I guess I forgot that was their home base, all right? I thought that was just a random place that they were in at that point in time. But, like, remember earlier when Batista's going after them in the planes, right? And his pilot's like, yo, I detect some signs of life over here. Right, and then went up to that big rock formation. Right, that was. I'm assuming that was the same location as. Right. Didn't they all fire on it at once?
No, that was when they started jumping out and attacking people.
No. I'm pretty sure they did that after they fired on it.
Well, they lost it. I'm assuming there was some sort of like jammers or something.
Right. They lost it, and then they were all.
And then he breaks the guy's neck and says, "Just start firing." I'm assuming they were firing at nothing because they didn't know where it was.
But, like, it's the only big giant rock formation.
There was dust in the air.
I'm pretty sure they shot it, but maybe they didn't have the powerful missiles or whatever. Old-fashioned artillery. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
We're literally dropping molten rocks on their head.
Yeah, they're like, genius move.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
shooting them. Also, this movie, really, if you think about it, is a white savior.
Yes! That's like the whole time. I'm like, wow, this is really white savior Islamic Lawrence of Arabia shit right here. Yeah.
Especially because the further south you go, the darker they get.
Yeah.
And he comes in
The
like,
more
yes,
religious.
I am here to save you, lowly people.
Oh my
you all
gosh.
think you could probably take me, but you can't because I know
There is none of you.
Once again,
Your grandmother died 9 months ago.
9 moons.
9 moons ago.
In your nightmares, you dream about giving people water. I'm like, that's a nightmare?
Oh, yeah, that was the craziest. That was the funniest thing. It's like in your nightmare, you dream about saving people and providing them water.
You fucked up person, you. Yeah, this is, once again, I'm sure this is so much better if you've read the books.
I'm sure. That this has made me more curious than I have ever been to read the books, because I would love to go chapter for chapter comparing it to the movie now.
Yeah.
Which is usually how I like to
have a better mental image in my head than Timothée Chalamet, because the dude it's not.
I don't love him either.
It's just frustrating when it's like in that scene where it gets up and he's just screaming, like there's no acting involved.
No, it's just, there are none of you here who can stand up to me.
And there's multiple times, like he gets in a fight with his mom early on, or when she's gonna go south and he doesn't want to go, and she's like, you should come with me, and he goes, no, and then he's just normal. And the very next shot, you're like, what the fuck was that? Like, I guess that can't be entirely on him. That's on the directing and editing as well.
Sure.
But like, what the fuck?
They're letting him do that, so
yeah,
they must be okay with it. But it wasn't a great choice.
No, it wasn't. And like I said, Zendaya's no better, really. They're both fine in the right roles for them. Like Zendaya, Great Showman, awesome, great in that. Timothée Chalamet, keep him in Call Me By Your Name, great, awesome. And you know what? I think that movie got like awards and shit. Like, so he can be really good. Also in like Little Women, like he's good in shit that is right for him. Mm-hmm. This is not one of those things. It's just not. I haven't seen Euphoria, but she is like the youngest actress ever to win 2 Emmys or something. Like, she's good. She is a good actor.
Yeah.
But this is just not the right thing for her.
Maybe she just needs more leading roles than love
or
interest
something
roles.
with more personality.
Yeah, because
give her
putting her on the side just doesn't do well with her.
Well, think about her in the first Spider-Man. She was good in that because she had a personality, and they just whittled away at the personality as it went. So it's just writing. It's not the role. She could be a really good side character. In The Greatest Showman, she's very much a side character.
I've never seen it, so.
She's good in it. She is. This movie is like most first movies of an intended series, not like a standalone movie that garnered a series. It is an appetizer.
Yeah.
But it's the second movie. So it should no longer be an appetizer, but it's still the first book, and so therefore it is. And that's frustrating as a viewer. And so even though it is good for what it is supposed to be, it's just not what you, or most people that watch it are probably wanting it to be. But it's not fair to the story. Like, I don't want to say it's a poorly written story, because it's clearly not. It's just how it's presented is wrong.
Yeah. That's why I keep saying, like, I feel like if I read the books, get to really feel some of the conflict of these characters rather than them just stating they have conflict and then getting over it in the next scene.
Yeah, because all the trials, too, is like, you knew it was impressive because somebody told you it was impressive. That's the biggest worm I've ever seen. Nobody can do this.
Oh, yeah, that was the funniest thing. The prophecy, I wish, have they ever stated what the prophecy is? Because
I was wondering that too, because I didn't rewatch the first movie, but so it's like
I did rewatch it. I didn't see it in the first movie.
Like they're like, well, the prophecy, the prophecy foretells that you have to bring him back to life. Huh? Okay. What does that mean? Like, Zendaya will bring him back to life, and then she starts to cry, and then Javier goes, oh, the tears of the desert spring.
No, he said that right before she cried.
I don't care either way.
No, but it was still terrible. It was still terrible. But I honestly think it was kind of worse the way they did it, because she runs up and is like holding him, and he's like, the desert springs tears, and it's like, oh yeah, didn't her name mean desert spring or something? Yeah. And she starts crying, and it's like she's like, give me some of the just give me some of the poison or whatever it's called.
Though? Why did she need poison?
I had no idea.
I thought she was gonna drink it. I'm like, but why?
Yeah, I was interested too. And then no, at first I thought like her tears falling on him was gonna like wake him up or something, like some Disney thing.
Or fucking Harry Potter 2.
Yeah, true. So okay,
get Fox in here. Come on.
I'm like, okay, whatever, fine. And then
you need a phoenix to cry at him.
And she grabs the poison, and I think like you, she's gonna drink some poison. I'm like, okay, Romeo and Juliet here.
Yeah, I was like, she's gonna kill herself, which will then bring him back to life.
And then she like takes a tear, dips it in the poison, and takes a little poison tear and rubs
it on his gums like he's taking cocaine.
And that brings him back.
Maybe it was just coke. This is the devil. Wake him up and scrub it in there.
Zendaya just cries coke. So many other prophecy stories you hear about the prophecy, and maybe it's not completely told at first. Maybe there's some mystery or some ambiguity, but you hear about it. And this series, to what I've seen so far, it feels like the prophecy is just there to excuse whatever they want. All right, he gets the biggest worm, and they're like, just like the prophecy foretold. Now you see the cave drawings afterwards, and it's like, oh, you couldn't have said that a little early. You couldn't have said that once.
To be fair, I did enjoy that angle where it was like, whatever happened, no matter what happened, Javier invented to make it the prophecy because he wanted it to be true. I did enjoy that. Like I said, he's the most enjoyable thing about the movie.
Yeah,
by far to me, other than I don't know, visually, because visually it's amazing.
Yeah, fine. But acting wise,
yeah, and character wise, like I love this guy's character. I'm shocked it wasn't told in the first one.
I don't remember it being told, and if it was anything outside of like, we're passing on this power, you have the voice and such. Yeah. I don't remember anything about, he's gonna get a worm, he's gonna come back from the dead, he's gonna be resurrected with the Desert Springs tears, he's gonna be, it just...
It's a long prophecy. How long is this prophecy?
I don't know! He took a shit in the desert on Tuesdays.
Oh, God. Just like on page 34.
Yes. Scroll 74 had that one. All the prophecies are being fulfilled. He stubbed his toe here.
God damn.
Okay, let's just go through the whole movie beat for beat.
Yeah, I've got 4 more hours.
Skip around. It's like
shut the fuck up, bitch. I don't know. I think I'm done talking about this movie. But if you got more, I don't know.
I just feel like there should be more, and I feel like
there's plenty you could pick apart about the movie. But what I kept reminding myself when I was watching it was not to keep comparing it to Lord of the Rings, but if you watch Lord of the Rings like how we are, and you talk about it like how we're talking about it, you can pick apart tiny things all day. That doesn't stop the movie from being like perfect. Right. And so this movie, there's a lot to nitpick, especially with stuff like acting and pacing and stuff. It's still overall a very well-made movie and very entertaining, frankly. And if they can make the plot tie up loose ends and feel like it actually went somewhere by the end of however long this series they choose to make it, this movie I will look back on as being perfectly fine. I will. And I know that there's flaws in it, but I think it's perfectly serviceable as what it was intended to be, which is the beginning of a grand, epic story. The problem, like I said all along, is the expectations you bring into a second movie in a supposed epic franchise. Yeah. And you go, we have not progressed far enough, it feels like. But really, it is just the beginning of the story. I feel like that was a really good wrap-up to this nonsense bullshit show we just did for the past 3 hours. How long have we been talking? We're coming on 2 hours, it feels like. When did this end? 9:45?
Yeah.
It's 11:30.
Good luck with this editing.
I'm not looking forward to this at all.
I think looking back, I will like it more than I did now. I don't know.
Depending, of course, on how good the rest of the movies are.
Yeah, sure.
That matters.
I don't, even if the rest of the movies are phenomenal, I don't think I'll ever fully love this movie, but...
That's fair.
It sure looks great. It sure had some great moments. It sure confused the hell out of me for most of the other runtime.
The pacing still is...
And yeah, the pacing...
an issue. Now, here's the question. What are they going to call the third movie? Are they going to call it Dune Messiah, or are they going to call it Dune Part 3?
Part 3.
But it's not. Dune was the first book. The second book is Dune Messiah.
Yeah.
So this is Dune Part 2. So the next one isn't Dune Part 3.
Okay, so it'll be Dune Part 3 Messiah.
Or just Dune Messiah Part 1.
But it has to have Dune in the title. Like,
Yes.
we know we can't escape Dune.
Right.
This isn't the book series.
Right.
So it's got to have Dune. So I'm assuming Dune Part 3 at a bare minimum. But, you know, the Messiah Dune Part 3 does sound pretty great. It rolls off the tongue.
It's not the Messiah, it's just Dune Messiah. That's all it is.
Well, now it's the Messiah Dune Part 3. Sounds great, doesn't it?
How about the Dune Messiah? He's the
Part
Messiah
3.
of Dunes. How about Part 3, the Dune Messiah? How about Messiah Part 3, the Dune?
Dune? Yes. There we go.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. We've been done a long time. Just look into the hole. Just look in. It looks like an eye, or something. Don't touch my hole. Thanks for watching, guys. We're sorry.
He's sorry.
You should be sorry too. Bye. Fucking hell. All right. Well. There's a review in there somewhere, I'm sure. I do also need to add that Zendaya's character's name is like Shawnee or something.
Shawnee, yeah.
But it really sounds like he was calling her Shawty.
Hey, Shawnee.
So he's like, hey, Shawty. Or like, at times he's like, I'm gonna love you forever, Shawty. I'm gonna love you till I can't breathe anymore, Shawty.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, he's romantic.
You know
He's
what?
romantical.
You know what? If I go back and hear that line now, that's gonna get bumped up to an 8.
I'm gonna love you forever, Shawty.